Buenos días. Mi nombre es Karen. Good morning, I'm Karen. I serve gratefully this morning as your worship associate. Sirvo con gratitud esta mañana como asociada de adoración. Bienvenidos a la Iglesia Unitaria Universalista de Fresno, California. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno. Welcome to everyone on our virtual campus. Welcome to everyone on our Alluvial Avenue campus. We are one congregation in many places. Somos una congregación en muchos lugares. If you are on our virtual campus, now is the perfect time to share this live stream with your Facebook or your YouTube friends and followers. Invite them to join you at church this morning. We pause and acknowledge that our Alluvial Avenue church campus sits within the traditional homelands of the Yokuts and Mono peoples. As Unitarian Universalists, we welcome you no matter your race, culture of origin, age, spiritual background, or religious beliefs. We welcome you no matter your disabilities, the amount of money in your bank account, your level of education, or your neurodiversity. You are welcome with or without documentation, con y sin papeles. You are welcome if you are lesbian, gay, bi, trans, non-binary, gender fluid, or questioning. Todos son bienvenidos aquí. If you are on our virtual campus, we want to make sure everyone can share in our joy, sorrow, gratitude, or concern time. Type those in now in the chat box. This is the moment to type your joy, sorrow, concern, or gratitude, and we'll write them down and give them to Tim so we can include them later in the service. If you don't do it now in the chat box, we won't have time to include them. Our worship theme for the month is awakening. Today we explore this theme through awakening our ability to hear life calling to us. As you may know, we are in the midst of our annual pledge drive. This is that copiously captivating and deliriously delicious time when the members and friends of the church let the staff know how much we will generously share in terms of financial support during the upcoming fiscal year, which runs from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. Your pledge allows us to build our budget based on the total amount of money we expect to be donated from the church's members and friends. Tim, you have some very exciting news.
I do, Karen, and as you can see, I'm trembling with anticipation to make this announcement. Last week, we had pledges amounting to $468,391, which was way far away from where we needed to be, but a miracle happened. A miracle happened. Could I have a drum roll, please? Our new total is $592,822. That is 96.72% of our goal of $612,892. If you do the math, this leaves only $20,070 to be pledged. Even more exciting, we have had an anonymous donor who has agreed to make a $5,000 matching grant. Will match dollar for dollar up to $5,000 for all first-time pledgers. So if you have never pledged before, if you turn it in today or this week, match dollar for dollar. So if you pledged $20, it's $40. For all first-time pledges, for all renewed pledges. So if you made a pledge last year and haven't renewed it, if you renew it this week, we will match, our anonymous donor will match it dollar for dollar. And most exciting for all of us who've already made our pledge, if we increase our pledge this week, even $5, that donor will match it dollar for dollar. So please return your pledge card if you have one. Stop at the Pledge Drive table on Alluvial Ave campus, or you can email your pledge to pledge@uufresno.org. And let's all say that together, pledge@uufresno.org. Today, anytime this week, matched dollar for dollar.
Now, in the chat box, in person, or in the stillness of your heart, let's take a moment to greet one another.
Vacation yet. Huh? Oh, okay.
Today, we listen to the callings of our spirit. We listen to the callings of our lives. So, with the sound of the tingsha, let us listen.
Silence, I'm listening. Spirit Buenos dias. Today we are celebrating National Poetry Month. Hoy celebramos el mes nacional de la poesía. My name is Nancy Hatcher. I am one of the volunteer librarians here in our Norelma Walker Youth Library. Soy bibliotecario voluntario en nuestra Biblioteca Juvenil Norelma Walker. Good morning to those of you here on our Alluvial Avenue campus and to those joining us on our virtual campus. If you have a candle or a chalice nearby, bring it close as we will be lighting it soon. I'd like to begin not with a poem, I am not a poet, but by reading a small part of a very lovely letter written to young readers by the writer Rebecca Solnit. She writes, and I read, quote, "Dear readers, nearly every book has the same architecture, a cover and spine and pages, but you open them onto worlds and gifts far beyond what the paper and ink are, and on the inside, they are every shape and power. Some books are toolkits you take up to fix things, from the most practical to the most mysterious, from your house to your heart, or perhaps to teach you how to make things. Some books are wings, some are horses that run away with you. Some are parties to which you are invited, full of friends who are there even when you have no friends. In some books, you may meet one remarkable person who will stay with you. In others, a whole group or even a culture. Some books are like medicine, bitter, but clarifying. Some long books are journeys, and at the end, you are not the same person you were at the beginning. Some are handheld lights you can shine on almost anything," unquote. So I'd like you to think of poetry when you reflect on the portion of the letter that I just read, and think too of the poet, the person who feels a calling, an inner voice, perhaps a desire to share with others what is on her or his mind, or to give voice to those whose voices cannot be heard, or whose voices may have been silenced forever. Think of a poem as having its own structure, its own theme, its own cadence. Think of a poem as a set of words reflecting the hope, the vision, the heart and soul, and perhaps even the very practical and contemporary experience of the poet. A poem can open a world of wonder and exploration and excitement, or a poem can offer comfort and solace and hope in times of trouble. In our library here, your library, we have over 1,800 volumes, and in those 1,800 plus, we have a large collection of poetry for the youngest of our patrons to the eldest. Some are very thoughtful, inspiring, endearing. Some portray history or nature, and some are just plain lyrically fun. We have books of poetry by our very own Margarita Engel, who was herself named the National Young People's Poet Laureate. Others of our acclaimed poets are Shel Silverstein, Jack Pilecki, Walter Dean Myers, and Francisco X. Alarcon. And by the way, in our congregation, we also have David Roberts, who really does write beautiful haiku. So please come and visit us any Sunday after service. We'll be waiting for you. Now, in the spirit of poetry and how it enriches our lives, I invite you to light your chalice or candle at home. Tim, if you would please light the chalice. Done. On our Alluvial Avenue campus. So let us now rise in body or spirit, and in the spirit of poetry, and sing "Life Calls Us On."
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Here in reverence now we gather for the blessings we have known, with a pledge to one another that we journey not alone. Joy and sorrow make us wise, kin to all that lives and dies. Love calls us on, love calls us on. Words and deeds of those before us waken here to keep us strong. Blend our voices in the chorus of creation's living song. Courage bids us lift our eyes upward to the shining skies. Hope calls us on. Hope calls us on. Loyal guides in love and duty lead us with a trusted light. Blessed are they whose inward beauty shows a path of truth and right. Honor is earthly pride. By their work we realize faith calls us on. Faith calls us on. We will share a radiant hour when the truth has made us free, and our spirit's gracious power dreamed of good that yet should be. Bright the path before us lies. Joyful pilgrims now we rise. Life calls us on. Life calls us on.
I invite us to remain standing as we speak together the words of this congregation's mission statement. La misión de la Iglesia Unitaria Universalista de Fresno es amar inclusivamente, crecer espiritualmente, servir con gratitud y trabajar por la justicia. The mission of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno is to love inclusively, grow spiritually, serve gratefully, and work for justice. Please be seated. So during our pledge drive, it's a tradition that we have testimonial videos about why this church matters to you. And this, about 2 weeks ago, I happened to stumble upon a video from March 2020. So this was recorded probably just a few weeks before the pandemic. And I was struck watching this compilation video of images of church that we just have not experienced since March 2020. We've reinvented ourselves as a congregation, one congregation in many places, but there's some things that still haven't come back to the Alluvial Ave campus, and you're going to see some of that. But the good thing is, eventually, all these pieces will come back to the Alluvial Ave campus, which means on our virtual campus, it will be there too. From Pledge Drive 2020, a time machine back in time.
What's not to love about the church? I love the music. I love the sermons. I love the little kids. I love watching the kids during story time and singing them on their way out to church school. I love the architecture, the whole feeling of the church.
The UU Church of Fresno feeds my spirit by giving me a space to refresh for the week, a space to learn more about what faith looks like, about what spirituality looks like, about what just connecting with the world looks like.
It's kind of the striving to be kind and compassionate. And so if I can take that outside of Sunday at 10:30 and just kind of carry that bubble around with me and use it in everyday circumstances, then that's how I'm carrying it with me.
I find too that this has spurred me on to doing doing volunteer work that I would not have volunteered for before. The support that every person in this church offers to each other encourages me and makes me know that I can make a difference to things that are very important to me as well as to the world.
Every service, whether it's Tim giving his sermons that have a comedic tint to them, which I personally love, or I'm involved with music and doing stuff with the band is super fun. But we leave service on Sundays with a good feeling or a hopeful feeling for the future.
The first word that really comes to me is rejuvenation. So it feeds my flame in allowing me to go into the next week with passion, with a sense of mindfulness. It allows me to recharge, and I think for me that's what's most special is going into that next week feeling good because I attended a service at the UU.
So let's create for ourselves a little bit of that rejuvenation and renewal that Troy spoke about. I invite us to take in a breath, and as we do so, we breathe in peace. We hold a moment. We breathe out love. And again, we breathe in peace. We hold a moment. We breathe out love into this world. One last time together, we breathe in peace, we hold, we breathe out love. We continue breathing together, breathing into and through the pain and struggle, the joys and the blessings of this last week. Breathing back over the last 7 days of our living. A question arrives with that breath. When in the last week did you listen? Really listen? And a question to carry into the next 7 days. What is it you need to hear from the universe in the week ahead? We carry that intention, that desire, that hope, what the Jewish tradition calls a kavanah, with us into this next week. We carry it as we transition into this time of sharing of joys, sorrows, gratitudes, and concerns. And so I invite you to allow the joys, the gratitudes, the sorrows, and the concerns of your life to rise up in your heart And this is just a little of what is alive both on Alluvial Ave and on our virtual campus. From the virtual world, Carrie Wise says, I am grateful that even when I can't be in the Alluvial Ave sanctuary and see my friends in real life, I can be part of our church beloved community online. Also from our virtual campus, Christina is celebrating that she has time to reflect, a joy. And Christina also sent in a sorrow. She is mourning the death of Madeleine Albright, who died on March 23rd. And we've been asked today to hold a church member in our thoughts, our prayers, our love, and our light. Josephine J. is facing some challenges right now with her health and really needs some positive energy. So let's collectively hold Josephine J. Even if we don't know her, we can love her. We mark also that on this day in 1950, Carter G. Woodson passed into the mysteries of death. Carter G. Woodson was the founder of Black History Month and dedicated his life to educating Black Americans about the achievements and contributions of their ancestors. And he was a trailblazer for another reason. He became the second Black person to receive a doctorate from Harvard University. So if you'd like to honor this great Black American, in the chat box type CGW, Carter G. Woodson. We hold in our collective hearts the people of Ukraine as they continue to live through what is a living hell. We acknowledge and celebrate Arab American Heritage Month this month, and also note that Thursday was the International Transgender Visibility Day, a day to celebrate the lives of trans, non-binary, and gender-fluid persons. And the fact that that day on Thursday was Transgender Visibility Day, and there was a cruel attack against the transgender community coming when the Arizona governor signed into law 2 bills attacking young trans persons, outlawing gender-affirming health care for trans youth, and also another one of those ridiculous and hurtful anti-trans sports bans that threatens the lives and safeties of trans youth who are at high risk for suicide. That same day in Arizona, yet another of the 15-week abortion ban laws were signed, bringing an attack especially against the BIPOC community, women, trans, and non-binary people unable now to receive an abortion in Arizona. Friday was the beginning of the holy month of Ramadan. So Ramadan Kareem to all our friends at the nearby Islamic Cultural Center of Fresno. And if you'd like to celebrate on our virtual campus, just type RK for Ramadan Kareem to celebrate. And so, for all that has been spoken, for all that we hold in the grateful silence of our own hearts, and for all those who on this day have no one to speak their name, to say their name with gentleness or love, we light our candle of community. By our remembering, may we and they be blessed. And we light a second candle. This burns for the now 6.14 million citizens of the world who have lost their lives in this pandemic, 979,000 of whom are citizens of this country. In the light of these candles, we join our voices in our call to meditation. Find a stillness.
stillness, oh, the stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, oh, the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Busco calma, una calma que me venga a envolver. Un silencio, tal silencio que me venga a envolver. En el alma y por el alma que me inspire muy adentro la armonía alcanzaré. Seek the essence, oh, the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true
Our words of prayer and reflection come from the heart of Sarah Eileen Lowell. Spirit of life and love, in the silence, in the stillness, we hear the call of our own heart. Espíritu de vida y amor, en el silencio, en la quietud, oímos la llamada de nuestro propio corazón. Its tender dreams, its sorrows and its triumphs. In the silence, in the stillness, we hear whispers of days gone by, of dreams still becoming, the promise of the future. We celebrate together our individual journeys and dreams and our collected ones, knowing the journey is so much richer with others to share in it. In the name of all that is precious, we pray. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Que así sea. Bendito sea. Amen.
Spring, you're a blossom in our hearts. Spring, is it possible to bring you today to sing so you'll stay as a smile or a kindness with all your wonderful wildness? Oh, spring, you're a patience and a choice. Spring, you're a prayer that's uttered beyond voice, for a sweet, gentle blooming as the earth is making room for a new start, returning. So fresh and green, welcome spring. Hope, you're a blossom in our hearts. Hope, is it possible to bring you today, to sing so you'll stay, as a smile or a kindness with all your wonderful wildness? So hope, you're of patience and of choice. Hope, you're a prayer that's lived and given voice. You're a seed seeking sunlight and a need speaking out for a new start. As I sing, be real in me, hope and spring, you're breathing new life in me. Welcome spring.
Hello? Karen? Are you there? Yes, I hear you. But are you listening? I am calling. I will listen. Come, I am calling you home. Who are you? You know who I am. I have always been here, and wherever you go, I will be here, waiting for you to return. I like to think that each time my life has taken a major turn, in some way, I have been following that still small voice inside me that calls me home. Each step along the journey, even the ones that feel backwards at the time, is a returning home to myself. The call to come back home to the Central Valley for a second time is one that stands out in my journey. After graduating college, I came home for a bit to work a few jobs that, while meaningful, left me feeling frustrated. Hadn't I graduated from a nice university? Hadn't I worked hard for my degrees, and didn't I deserve to have a job that was reflective of that, not to mention allowed me to pay back my student loans? So when the chance to leave my small foothill town came up again, I was ready to return to Santa Barbara. I quickly found that nice 9-to-5 job I deserved and settled into a new routine. After the end of a significant relationship there, I stayed. There wasn't much to keep me there beyond the job. Some good friends and a dance studio I loved, sure. Perhaps it was the party atmosphere that I had come to define as fun, but nothing really tied me to that place, nothing real. It wasn't until I took a short trip home to visit my family and former dance buddies in Coarsegold that the call came. A small whisper came to me as I laughed over dinner with my family. It tugged longingly as I gazed out over the foothills I had played in as a preteen. It shouted at me as I played with my little brother. Then the call came plainly through the voice of my friends as they shared their adventures with their new dance studio and told me plainly, "Come home." I would always have my room at my childhood home, and my friends were offering me a new job. Not a steady job, but something fun and fulfilling, a return to my heart center. But how could I leave that cushy office with its benefits and reliable paycheck for something so unknown? It is within these moments of uncertainty that the true and most important call can only come from that one place. It is when we pause to truly listen to the voice within the center of our heart that the path is made clear. For that is the voice that tells us, yes, this is the way. Don't be afraid to let go of what feels safe. You know you can do it. Do what feels right, and the rest will follow. Time and time again, that voice has never failed me. When I need it most, it's always there, waiting. Again and again, it tells me it's okay when I'm not sure. It gives me that little extra assurance I need when the road is unclear. It allows me to believe in myself and allows me to trust in the process of life. When I followed that voice back home that summer, it led me back to myself in so many ways. I reconnected with my family, becoming closer to my parents than ever before. I reconnected with my love for dance, theater, and teaching. I finally got my substitute credential and began working in so many beautiful classrooms. This quickly opened the door for my first long-term sub-position and eventually my first permanent teaching job. I had a career, and I even met a really nice guy. That still small voice called again to tell me he was indeed the one, and before long we were married, and shortly after I gave birth to our son, Tony. We found an amazing church to call home and developed some of the strongest friendships we'd ever had in our whole lives. Tony turns 3 this month, and as I look upon my life these days, I'm so grateful that I followed that voice home. That return led me to all the most precious elements of my life that I hold dear today. Everything falls into place. A friend shared those words with me once after the calling had changed my path a previous time. These words have come back to me many times since. As I look back on my life so far, they ring true for the falling pieces of many chapters. In the moment of conflict, it can be hard to see the path forward. We may only have that inner calling, that reassuring self-trust that calls us onward to that which brings us closer to our truth. May that calling be enough to remind us that we are enough, that we have within us all that we need to carry forward, to take the plunge, to come home to ourselves.
I invite us to rise and body your spirit and join in singing a song we learned a few weeks ago, I Know I Can.
2, 3, 4.
Though days be stark with storms and burdens weigh
Please be seated. Let's give it up for Stolen Thunder. Hannah's soloist. I have been a seeker, and I still am. But I stopped asking the books and the stars. I started listening to the teachings of my soul. So yesterday, I got in a really big argument with a friend, debating which Unitarian Universalist has impacted more people worldwide than any other Unitarian Universalist in history. Yes, it was another Unitarian Universalist minister. We're probably the only ones who ponder these great questions. So which Unitarian Universalist has impacted more people worldwide than any other Unitarian Universalist in history? Was it Clara Barton, the great nurse in the Civil War, whose wartime ministry to those wounded on the battlefield morphed into the American Red Cross, which she founded in 1881? That ministry then spread worldwide, and today the Red Cross is saving lives in Ukraine, Afghanistan, Syria. Which Unitarian Universalist has impacted more people worldwide than any other Unitarian Universalist in history? Was it Charles Darwin, the great naturalist and botanist who gave us, among other things, the theory of evolution and finally provided us with a reason-filled and intelligent understanding of the glorious wonder of life? Was it actor Christopher Reeve? After all, he was Superman. So, does anybody want to take a guess which Unitarian Universalist has impacted more people worldwide than any other Unitarian Universalist in history? Who's that? You're saying your vote is with Clara Barton. Yes? Jesus of Nazareth. I don't know if he would call himself a Unitarian Universalist, although he taught Unitarian Universalist values. Now, if this was a TV game show, this is the moment that I would get a lifeline and could make a call and ask to see if there's somebody who had the answer to this question. So let's see. Can you pick that up?
Hello.
Hello, is this Karen?
Oh, yes, this is Karen.
Hey, Karen. First, I just wanted to say your reflection this morning was like amazing. It was wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
I'm having a trouble time here. We are wrestling with the question, which Unitarian Universalist has impacted more people worldwide than any other Unitarian Universalist in history? We are stymied, but we know that Karen has the answers to all of life's questions. So which Unitarian Universalist was it?
I gotta say, Alexander Graham Bell.
Whoa, give it up for Alexander Graham Bell. So, not only did Alexander Graham Bell give us the telephone that changed the nature of communication around the world, Alexander Graham Bell's invention eventually evolved into the cell phone and the smartphone, which itself possesses one of the most important inventions in all of history: caller ID. Suddenly, with caller ID, we could know who was calling us. We could know who was on the other end of that ringing phone. Until that point, it was a crapshoot. It was a great unknown in terms of who was on the other end of the call. We didn't know until we answered the call and said, "Hello." The great gift of Unitarian Alexander Graham Bell was not just the phone itself, but our ability to screen calls. We could accept calls from someone we wanted to talk to, and we could let others go unanswered. Alexander Graham Bell gave us one of the great forms of liberation. If you want to celebrate caller ID, type CID in the chat box. And let's have some hooting and hollering on the Alluvial Ave campus for the phone and caller ID. Now, avoiding the call of a bothersome telemarketer, a political pollster, or an angry ex-spouse can make the difference between a good day and a bad day. But as Karen talked about, there is another kind of call, a deeper kind of call, and that call can make the difference between an authentic life and an unlived life. This kind of call doesn't ring on our cell phone as the call did on Karen's. It resonates in your gut. This kind of call comes from within, from an inner knowing. This is a call to be who we were born to be. It's a call to live a more genuine life, a more honest life, a more open-hearted life, an existence more aligned with the seasons of our life, more connected to some greater purpose than our own wants and needs. Karen, I love how you talked about a time where you felt a calling and followed it to a life-giving place. I remember a time in my life when I didn't follow that gut feeling. I was nowhere near as smart and wise as you are, and I made a really misguided decision in the direction of my career. I felt it in the moment I was making that decision. There was a stirring that said, think again. I didn't. Rather than having the courage to admit my mistake, I kept moving in the direction of that initial decision. The universe kept calling to me, hey, Tim, you're heading somewhere you don't want to be going. There's someplace else you need to be. There's somebody else you're meant to be. And I ignored it. I ignored the clear message being sent by my difficulty falling asleep at night. I disregarded the fact that I was anxiously waking up far too early in the morning with my head just racing. I discounted the real meaning of my thirst for that second glass of wine during dinner. The call to return to my best self persisted. It spoke through lower back pain that just wouldn't go away. It spoke in the constant yearning of my soul for something else. There was a knowing that was within me, a call that kept finding ways to make me look and listen, a call that needed me to answer yes. No matter where we are in our life, no matter our job or our financial status, no matter our age, our health, how far from or close to death we are, something is calling us. Life is dialing our number and trying to connect. It may not necessarily be a call to become something or somebody new. Sometimes it is a call to be more of who we already are. Or sometimes, as author Anne Lamott observes, it's a call to stop being who we aren't. A call to stop being who we aren't. In a sermon about callings, Unitarian Universalist chaplain Iris Hardin notes, In his book, Let Your Life Speak, activist and teacher Parker Palmer writes that a call is not a voice asking us to become someone we are not yet. Palmer sees a call not as a goal to be achieved, but as a gift to be received. A gift to be received. Discovering calling, he writes, does not mean scrambling towards some prize just beyond my reach, but accepting the treasure of true self that I already possess. It comes from a voice in here calling me to be the person I was born to be, to fulfill the original selfhood given me at birth by the universe. I like that, original selfhood instead of original sin. Calls can invite us to stop our incessant tendency towards people-pleasing. Anybody? Was that Hannah? Just says yes. Okay. It was just the wrong time to stretch, Hannah, I'm telling you. Calls can beckon us to a new hobby, a new passion waiting to be discovered. That ukulele lesson, Betty, that I know you always wanted to try. Or finally getting back on the bike, which I actually did this week outside. Learning to make a chocolate souffle. Someone here might have a calling for that. Spending more quality time with our grandchildren. We can feel called into a deeper relationship with stillness and silence, a deeper connection to God or mystery, or more time spent in nature. Some of us may be called to accept assistance and love from others when we are ill or aging. Some of us may be called to stop driving when our eyesight makes it unsafe. Others of us are called to discover how to live more fully even when our body is dying. A call can also come through the desire to belong, to become part of a spiritual community. And some who are feeling that right now will become church members next week at New Member Sunday. Sometimes a call can come to an entire church community, allowing us to feel a restlessness that makes us realize we want to live more fully into our vision of being a more multicultural, multiracial, multi-generational community. A calling that gives us the strength to do the hard work and name the painful truths that will cause us to transform our white-dominated culture and de-center whiteness in this congregation. Sometimes a call can come to an entire church community, urging us to reach out beyond our walls and work for justice, trabajar por la justicia, to make change, to not let justice be our talk, but be our walk. In his book, Callings, Finding and Following an Authentic Life, author Greg Lavoie writes, "The purpose of a call is to summon us to a new level of awareness, into communion with that which is bigger than ourselves, an awakening of some kind." Could you say all of that with me now, please? The purpose of a call is to summon us to a new level of awareness, into communion with that which is bigger than ourselves, an awakening of some kind. Have you ever in your life experienced such a call? I think of two people in our congregation. One, Margaret, on our virtual campus up in the foothills, where she felt called to create a ranch for horses that were coming from situations in which they were abused, and she has created a haven for those horses as well as other animals. That on our virtual campus. On our alluvial campus, I think of Amanda, who felt called to help lead a team in sponsoring the Alshingi family, a family that had escaped from Afghanistan. And that call meant spending a lot of time organizing and planning and a lot of giving of herself, but she felt that call and responded to it. Now, the great religions of the world are filled with really wonderful stories about calls. The Greek goddess Gaia is called out of primordial chaos to create the universe and to weave and sustain the interdependent web of all existence. The Buddha is called to leave his princely palace and live without adornment so he can teach a path to inner peace. Miriam is called to lead the traditional domestic role a woman had in her culture and join with her brother Moses to lead the Israelites out of slavery and into freedom, a great liberation commemorated in our upcoming Passover. Ashun, the African Yoruban goddess who created human beings, must leave the heavens and walk on earth. Muhammad is called out of his successful business world to a mountain cave to receive the Quran from the angel Gabriel, an epic event commemorated during this month of Ramadan in Islam. Now, the mythology of the Christian religion also begins with a call. The call takes place in a small village named Nazareth. A 14-year-old girl named Miriam, or Mary, is nervous in the days before her marriage to a slightly older boy named Joseph. One night, unable to sleep, something draws her from her bed, draws her up the stairs, draws her up onto the roof of her father's house. Picture her there, the night sky spread out above her, away from the noise of the everyday, away from distractions, in a place apart. Miriam finds the space to listen to what she already knows in her gut. She listens, and she hears, and she feels new life stirring in her, a possibility growing. Standing in the dark under that vast sky, Miriam hears the voice within. It whispers, "Yes, Miriam, you are carrying a child. You will give birth to a son. You can name him anything, perhaps Yeshua, Jesus. And because of him, you will learn to love more fully. Because of him, we all could learn to love more inclusively if we would just follow his example, which most of us, unfortunately, won't." Called up onto the roof, carrying a child, called to motherhood, called to raise a sensitive, insightful, spiritually filled boy, Miriam finds her life shaken. Answering the call, saying yes, requires trust. She must explain to her 16-year-old fiancé that they are pregnant even before the marriage has begun. Answering the call, saying yes, it brings uncertainty. A child born out of wedlock is a swift path to death by stoning, according to the Jewish law practiced in her village. Answering the call, saying yes, invites change. Miriam knows that no matter what happens, no matter how it turns out, nothing is ever going to be the same again. But Miriam also knows that answering the call, saying yes, invites joy, freshness, and the promise of new life. Joy, freshness, the promise of new life. So, too, for us. Answering our call, saying yes, requires trust. Answering our call, saying yes, brings uncertainty. Answering our call, saying yes, invites change. Answering our call, saying yes, emboldens freshness and the promise of new life. In her sermon about callings, Unitarian Universalist chaplain Iris Harden quotes Mary Luty, a professor at Andover Newton Theological School. And Professor Luty says, when the Spirit calls, she calls us to become more. Her call gathers up the joy implanted in us at our creation and places it at the service of something that increases that original joy in us. I love it. Not original sin, original joy. Some aspects of our calling will be hard, very hard, but hardship is not the defining characteristic of a call. Who you are in all your singular particularity contains most of the clues about what you are meant to do in this one precious life you've been given. Chaplain Iris Harden continues. The power to live and live well is related to the connection to our heart's passion. It's related to our connection to our heart's passion. This is true no matter where you are in life. It may be your heart's passion, it's reconciling with a loved one, or learning to care for your own ailing body with the same love and compassion that you have always shown in your care for others, or engaging more fully with a faith community that compels you to act in the world. Wherever you are in life, saying yes to your deepest desires is what keeps you alive. Saying yes to your deepest desires is what keeps us alive. In conclusion, Howard Thurman, the great black 20th century theologian and civil rights leader, famously said, "Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive." Que así sea, bendito sea. Blessed be, amen.
Does a road from Vegas to nowhere, someplace better than where you've been? Coffee machine that needs some fixing, and little cafe just around the bend. I'm calling you. I'm calling you. A hot dry wind blows right through me. A baby's crying, I can't sleep, but I can feel a change is coming. It's coming closer, 'cause, 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 am calling you. I am calling you. Desert road from Vegas to nowhere, someplace better than where you've been. Coffee machine that needs some fixing, in a little cafe just around the bend. A hot dry wind, it blows right through me. The baby's crying and I can't sleep, but I can feel that a change is coming. It's coming closer, sweet release. And I am calling you. And I am calling you.
It up again. That was amazing.
Hola, soy Karen. Hello, I'm Karen. What a beautiful morning this has been so far. I'm so grateful to share this time with you. I've spent a lot of time reflecting on the power of gratitude within my life recently and come to connect this important practice with the equally important practice of generosity. For me, generosity is the manifestation, the action that expresses our gratitude in a concrete way. When I feel grateful, truly grateful, and I connect with that overflowing sense of joy that comes with recognizing the abundance in my life, it only makes sense to share it. Sometimes that's taking the extra moment in a rushed morning to stop and tell my family how much I appreciate them. Within my church community, that's taking in all of the hard work and energy and the beautiful music and the voices and the people, everything that goes into creating Sunday service, and pouring a little from my cup into the figurative cup from which we all drink. There are so many ways for all of us to contribute to our church community. During this time of offering, we ask for your financial contributions. For our friends on our virtual campus, we invite you to continue supporting our live stream ministry with your offering. And for our pledging members, we gratefully invite you to make a special contribution this morning. In this spirit, please join me in our words of offering. If not us, then who? If not open hearts, then what? If not now, then when? If not here, then where? If not generously, then how? If not us, then who? Here's a slide showing how you can make a financial contribution right now on our virtual campus, or if you are on the Alluvial Avenue campus, you can always drop some cash or a check on the way out in the baskets on the, by the doors of the sanctuary. May this church continue to be worthy of the many forms of our gifts.
Several years ago, a powerful yellow banner affirming the worth of Black lives called my then fiancé and I to the doors of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno. Since then, the many Sundays we have spent in this sacred space have affirmed the importance of that calling. This community has come to mean so much to us. A pillar of our unique faith, a home for our spirits, a celebration of all the goodness that life has to offer. As you go forth into the new week ahead, may you hold on to the sparks that ignited your spirit today. May the message of your precious worth resound loudly in your ears. The knowledge that you are loved remain foremost in your heart. And may you always carry an openness to the callings of your life. As we prepare to end our service and enter into our afternoon, please join us in our chalice extinguishing words. Extinguimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts. Que les vaya muy, muy bien. May you be well. Hasta luego. Until we meet again. Here's a wave to everyone on our virtual campus. And Tim, I believe you have some reminders before our closing words.
I do, Karen. How did you know that? But first, before I do the reminders, could we just share our love and appreciation of Karen? Karen, you are such a spiritual gift to this community. Thank you. So, exiting the sanctuary, we're going to let our socially distanced folks leave first, going out through those doors, and then the rest of us can follow along. You know, one of the most wonderful parts, for me at least, of the service pre-pandemic was I would stand back there at the main church doors, and anybody who wanted to say good morning would would have a line there, and a receiving line. It was wonderful. And since we've come back onto Alluvial Ave, it hasn't really been happening out there, so we're going to be a little more intentional about it. First, inviting you, if you would like to say hello, I'm going to be out there. Karen is going to be there, so you can say your appreciation to Karen. Hannah will be there as well, so you can share your appreciation and connect with some folks you may not know. The band, when they're done playing, is also invited to come on out if you wish. It's not a requirement, but it's just a chance to say good morning. We're trying to reestablish more and more connection, which is also why we invite you to coffee hour here on our Alluvial Ave campus, especially if you're new or newish. It is the best way over caffeine to get to know some really awesome people. So, last but not least, shameless plug, I think the last time, pledge at uufresno.org if you haven't pledged or you want to increase your pledge and have it matched dollar for dollar this week only. We have a tradition. We'd like to welcome folks who are with us for the first, second, or third time. We don't do it to embarrass you, but we truly are grateful. You could have been anywhere this morning, and you chose to be here. So on our virtual campus, if you are visiting for the first, second, or third time, could you maybe just say hello and type your name into the box so we can welcome you there? Here on this campus, if this is your first, second, or third time, we invite you to rise for just a moment. We won't leave you standing alone for long. We promise you that. So welcome. It's so good to have you. Welcome, welcome. I invite the rest of the congregation to rise with them for our closing words. If you came in a pod, please join hands. If you came not in a pod, just hands over your heart. Closing words, sung benediction. These were words that were taught to us by Danny. May you remember that you are loved. May you remember that you are cherished. May you remember you are not alone. Amen.
2, 3.
Shalom and assalamu alaikum.
2, 3,